the lead, but the match is over. 2 for 1. You're in the lead. 2 for 1.
Seeing as Black Armor introduced to us some of the best weapons in the game both for PvP and PvE, today I'm gonna showcase a gun that I can say I highly favor, and I'd say is one of the top 3 guns in the game for PvP, aside from Ace of Spades and Not Forgotten / Luna's Howl, as well as it's a very high tier gun for PvE as well. The first portion of the video we will be going over the PvP role that I'd say is the definite God role, and in the second portion of the video we'll be going over to the PvE God role, or at least my PvE God role. And if you want to skip to that, you can click the timestamp shown on screen if that's what piques your interest. Now, my optimal God roll and your optimal God roll may differ. Perhaps you prefer having more range on your weapon, where I may prefer having more stability or handling on said weapon, or vice versa. Or maybe you like Outlaw, where I would want triple tap, or vice versa. But in this instance, I'll be talking about a sought after combination of traits that makes it a God tier weapon. Starting off with the PvP God roll for Kindled Orchid: Rampage, Kill Clip, and Drop Mag. Now, starting off, you can clearly see that this gun is doing some tremendous work in the Crucible, as shown in the background. And it plays very similarly to a weapon the most of us know, the Better Devils and the Ace of Spades. As with all 140 RPM archetypes, it does 70 to the head and 47 to the body. The difference between Kindled Orchid and Better Devils, or Ace of Spades, is the fact that it can 2-tap on any character without Kill Clip and any enhancing exotics or subclasses, like say One-Eyed Mask, Way of the Missile's Inertia Override, or perhaps even the Warlock's Empowering Rift. The only thing you gotta do to activate the 2-tapping potential is killing one enemy, reload, and then proceed to hit something within the period Kill Clip and Rampage is active. Now, Kill Clip lasts for 5 seconds from the moment you reload your gun in a 3-second window after you've killed someone, and doesn't refresh if the buff is active. Rampage, however, doesn't last as long and only lasts for 3 seconds, or 4 provided you're using a Rampage mod to increase that timer by 1 second. So sometimes you may find yourself only hitting with the Kill Clip numbers 93 to the head and 62 to the body, instead of with both of the buffs. Which means you can still 2-tap Guardians with 5 resilience or less, but as you may know, Crucibles often at least 6 resilience for the convenience of those types of scenarios. So let's go over some pros and cons with this weapon in PvP. Let's start off with the pros. Starting off, it's a hand cannon. If you like hand cannons and the way they play, this is definitely one to look after, as it does its job quite well. It's a 140 RPM hand cannon, and it's right in the middle of not being too fast and not being too slow. Whether you prefer this or the 150 is up to you, but this is a very nice place to start with hand cannons in general. It has the shortest TTK value, time to kill, of any hand cannon that isn't Sturm or the Not Forgotten Luna's Howl with certain circumstances. Granted, that's with Kill Clip and Rampage activated. With no buffs, it kills all Guardians with 3 headshots in 0.87 seconds. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. With Kill Clip and Rampage, however, it drops down to 0.43 seconds, whereas the Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten is 0.67 seconds with a general 3 headshots, or 0.33 seconds if you manage to get the Magnificent Howl perk before 2-tapping another Guardian. Which, granted, is a lot harder to do than to just kill a Guardian and move on as you would with a Kindled Orchid. It can surprise you just as much as the enemy when the buffs are activated. I've had moments where I didn't expect to kill someone, but surely did, even if I didn't really aim that well or expect to hit at all. Provided you have everything lined up, there are moments you can slay multiple Guardians that overlook the amazing capabilities of the gun. Not everyone has it. To get the gun, you need both the Black Armory expansion and RNGesus to be on your side. Aim assist and stability. Both of those aren't the best, but it's nothing to brush off. With an aim assist of 76 and a stability around halfway, you'll find you have decent control over your gunfights towards pretty much any opponent within the gun's range, even if the stability isn't phenomenal. Which leads me to the cons about the gun. So, just as with every other hand cannon, it's a hand cannon, and if you don't like those, you're out of luck in this regard. It's still a hand cannon. The range, unless you have a very decent roll, isn't tremendous. You'll find yourself hitting lower than you expect quite often and will often be outgunned by a Not Forgotten or an Ace of Spades if you find yourself at a larger distance. Unless you have Kill Clip Rampage going, which is where you can surprise even those guns. The reload, so unless you got yourself Drop Mag or Flared Magwell or got a Masterwork for it, it's not great and comes up with a mediocre 48. So if you want to trigger Kill Clip and get to shoot someone while Rampage is still activated, it's highly recommended you get at least 60 plus on the reload stat. If not, I'd unfortunately have to say keep grinding. So this is only for the guns with Drop Mag, which I highly recommend, by the way. With Drop Mag, if you keep reloading with bullets left in the magazine, you'll find yourself empty-handed quite quickly. Now, if you get kill after kill after kill in the Crucible and you have no Guardians dropping any white ammo bricks for you, you'll find yourself having to rely on your other weapons, or at the bare minimum, run around and punch faces. Getting the gun. Now, this is locked behind the Black Armory expansion, and beyond that it's luck-based whether you get it or not. It drops from a weapon frame you get from 801, provided you've cleared content up to that point, and depending on your luck, could drop on the first run, or it could potentially never drop with the stats that you want. I opened between 80 and 100 weapon frames before I got my first and only Kill Clip Rampage Kindled Orchid. Luckily, it had Drop Mag too. That being said, if you open a gold frame in the Burgusia Forge, there is a higher chance of getting a curated roll, which has most of the stats you want: Drop Mag, Kill Clip, Rampage. And to take a look at the optimal stats for a PvP Kindled Orchid to give you an idea of what to look for, we'll do that before we head on over to the PvE version of the gun. So for the optimal god roll for this gun, in the ways of the PvP, for this gun to handle itself well without thinking about any other secondary weapon or anything like that, we'll be looking at what parts to look for on the gun. And for the barrel, what you're looking for is hammer-forged rifling or small bore. Second tier would be full bore, extended barrel, or corkscrew rifling. For the mag, you would want Drop Mag, hands down, but if not, and the roll is otherwise so good you don't want to get rid of it, I'd say Flared Magwell with a reload Masterwork. The rest, of course, is Kill Clip and Rampage. But for the Masterwork, as the range of the gun just really wants an extra boost, I'd say go for range Masterwork. And if that can't be done, you can always go with the stability or reload option. And that concludes the PvP version of the gun. Now, for PvE, this weapon does fine by itself. Not thinking too much about which stats the gun can get, it's a 140, it's fine, it does the job and brings down purple shields as a 140 energy gun would. But taking the stats into consideration, this gun can come with a good variety of options when it comes to PvE as well. To name some: Shield Disorient and Disruption Break, Outlaw and Rampage, Surrounded and Rampage, Triple Tap and Rampage, and of course the previously mentioned quote-unquote PvP roll, Kill Clip and Rampage. Most people are, for the time being, at least until they buff it, quite disappointed with the Shield Disorient and Disruption Break combo, and are more lenient towards any of the other options. In this video, I'll showcase what I'd consider the god roll and why it's better than Surrounded Rampage. A little confused, right? You'd assume it'd be Surrounded Rampage because that's where most of the damage lies. Well, yes, it is true, assuming you're surrounded by enemies most of the time, which isn't always the case. But when that's the case, of course, go for Surrounded Rampage, and even add a Surrounded mod upon that just to increase the damage even further. But that's something I would suggest doing for a sword and not a gun. So considering how the game often is laid out and how you often encounter enemies, whether it be in the world questing, doing lost sectors, strikes or raids, you're not always surrounded by enemies, meaning both the stat and the mod become downright useless in situations where you find yourself at range or peeking from cover. And when enemies come close to you, you often tend to your trench barrel shotgun anyways. The role I'm speaking of and has become my go-to is Triple Tap Rampage, with Rampage mod. And you may be asking, why not have Outlaw Rampage instead? That's so much better. And while yes, that is a really good roll on a gun, but taking into consideration that you can get the gun with Drop Mag or Flared Magwell, you don't really need extra reload speed. And topping that off with a hand cannon reloader or the enhanced version, and even without, the reload is over in no time, and that's even without getting a precision kill which you need with Outlaw. And seeing as mobs usually drops tons of white ammo bricks, as well as when you get over the fact that you have to reload a gun every single time you've killed 2-3 ads and there's time in between those ads and the next pack, you don't really run out of ammo either. So why triple tap? Utilizing triple tap, even though you have 10 rounds in the magazine, you can shoot up to 14 bullets, even if you miss a couple of shots. It's basically like using a midnight coup. And I know what you're gonna say, how dare you! Needless to say, a slower midnight coup, but still a fast-paced gun that clears well, and has the added bonus of taking down purple shields. Needless to say, it pairs perfectly with a threat level shotgun from the Raid Scourge of the past, and gives you the opportunity to switch it around when the game calls for it. As for the stats you want with this one, I mean, it's meant for PvE, do you really need much else? I'm just kidding. I know you like to have optimal gameplay for that ad clearing potential, and yes, why of course I'll give you an opinion on that. So, since it's PvE, it's usually pretty good to have a good combination between range and stability, meaning any of these barrels will suffice. Tier 1, Hammerforged Rifling, Small Bore, Polygonal Rifling, Fluted Barrel, and Corkscrew Rifling. Tier 2 would be Extended Barrel and Chambered Compensator. I already talked about mags, but these are the ones you want. Tier 1, Drop Mag, Tier 2, Flared Magwell. And the rest is, of course, Triple Tap Rampage. And that concludes the PvE version of the gun. These, of course, are what I think are the perfect rolls and what makes the most sense to me. How about you? Do you have an opinion on which stats you'd want for an actual optimal god roll? Leave a comment to what versions of the gun you have acquired, or what versions of the gun you think would be best suited for you. I also want to thank you for making it this far into the video, that really means a lot to me. If you liked the video, feel free to share it around, and if you're looking for more videos like this, I'll be making more with other weapons, of course. So feel free to subscribe if that's something you want to be notified of. Anyways, I'm Tio, and until next time, so long.
One.